In this video, we're going to take a look at conditional formatting in Excel 2016. It works pretty much the way it has in the last few versions of Excel. And conditional formatting is simply this. You change the format, or Excel will automatically change the format of a cell for you based on the contents of that cell. So if you're looking for values within a certain range, you can say find those values and make them look different. So you can, highlight them in red or make them bold or whatever you want to do. This is has kind of limited usefulness, I think, because you can also identify certain values in a column simply by using filtering, or if you're looking at ones on either end, you can just sort them and pick them out. So I would probably be more likely to do that than to do conditional formatting, but let's take a look at how conditional formatting works. You might want to try that out. So let's look at column C here, and actually I'm just going to select the data that's in column C, not anything that goes beyond that. And we're going to go to conditional formatting here, and conditional formatting does a live preview. So we're going to skip these first two for now, and we're going to take a look at data bars. And data bars are simple. If the number is big relative to the other numbers in the column, then it gets a long bar, and if it's short or small, then it gets a short bar. So if you pause the mouse over these and take a look over there, there's a 99 in row 23, and the biggest number in this column is 100. I'm not sure if there's a 100 in there or not, but the numbers are basically from 0 to 100. And so if you see a short bar over there, it represents a small number, and if you see a long bar, it represents a big number. And all of these are exactly the same. The only difference is the color of the gradient up here, and down below, instead of using a gradient, they use a solid. So let's go ahead and I'll just pick one of these. And now if I go over here and look, there's 100, and the bar goes all the way across. The 99 is like about 1 pixel less, it looks like. And I'm not sure what the smallest number in this column is. It looks like it might be the 55 here, and that's a little bit more than half of the biggest number, so the bar goes a little bit over halfway across. So those are basically 12 different versions here of pretty much the same thing. The bar will be the same every time, it's just how you fill it in. Let's go to color scales here, and color scales let you apply different colors. And you notice that the old formatting is still there. The red bars are still there. You can apply more than one type of conditional formatting. And so most of the time you're probably not going to want to, but what we're going to do here is we are going to clear the rules for the selected cells, and now we'll be able to see the other options a little bit better. So we've got color scales, and this also does a live preview. And if you look at each of these pairs, these two right here are the same colors but in different order. We've got green at the top here and red at the bottom, and then we flip it around. Here we've got red and green with white in the middle instead of yellow, and then we flip it around. And the same thing with these two, and these two, and these two, and these two. And I'm not a big fan of any of these because you have to remember which color is the high end and which color is the low end, and since in this one green can be the high end and in this one green is the low end, you have to remember which is which. So I'm not a big fan of any of these. There's also icon sets, and we'll do a live preview here. You can have anywhere from 3 to 5 different icons, and it will put icons in the cell based on the top. I don't know if it's 1/3, I'm not sure what the algorithm is, but the numbers on the top part of the scale will have an arrow pointing up, and it'll be green. The numbers in the middle have a horizontal arrow, and it's yellow, and then the ones that are doing poorly, or the low numbers, will have a red arrow pointing down. And it's the same thing with all of these. If you just pause the mouse over them, sometimes you get more than 3, but they have different shapes and usually different colors as well to indicate if the numbers are small, middle, or large, or in the case of some of these with 4 or 5, you've got 4 or 5 different options for formatting the contents of the cell. Okay, so those are icon sets. I don't know how useful those are either. I think the one you might be most likely to use would be the highlight cells. up here. We're not going to take a look at top and bottom, although that's pretty self-explanatory, I think. We're going to look at highlight cells rules. And we've got options. So let's say that what I'd like to do is I'd like to see who's not doing so well right now. And again, I said you could do a filter, which would probably be a better way to do it, but you can also have them just jump out at you. And so let's say I'm concerned about anybody who is currently less than 70. Okay, so I'll click on less than. And I get this little dialog box, and I'm not sure where 77.5 comes from. That's not the average. Right down here you can see the average is 79.8. So I'm not sure where they get that from, but it doesn't matter. We're going to change that anyway. So we just drag your mouse over it, and when it's highlighted, put a 70 there instead. And you'll notice that all of those numbers that are less than 70 have a red background with a dark red foreground for the text. And we've got some presets over here, about half a dozen or so. And if I pause the mouse over these, I do not get a live preview unless I actually click on it. But these are the options. Red text, that one's not, doesn't make them jump out quite as much. This one, if you get a thin border there, it's only like a pixel or two wide. That doesn't really make them jump out at you a whole lot either. But there is a custom option here. So we're going to go to custom, and you can change the number format, which I don't think you will be doing, the font format, the border, or the fill. The border, unless you got a thick border, I don't think it does too much for you. The font, though, you can make the font bold, and you can also change the font of the color. So let's make them red, and let's go to the fill over here, and let's pick kind of a light red color to kind of match, and let's click on OK, and click on OK, and this is what you get. Any number that is under 70 over here will be bold and red with a light red background. And this is dynamic. If I change this 90 here to, whoops, not 70, but it's 69, then it automatically changes the formatting as well. So it's always updating depending on any new values that you might put into a cell. I'm going to undo that, put the 90 back where it was. Okay, you can also, I'm going to select this again, you can also apply more than one formatting rule. So we're going to go to our conditional formatting up here, and we're going to go highlight cells rules again. And let's say I also want to see the ones that are on the top end. Okay, so let's do greater than, and let's put in 90 up here. And over here, let's go to custom format again, and let's make these a completely different color. Let's make these, let's do a green fill, and let's do, for the font, let's make that a green, bright green font as well. And let's click on OK, and click on OK. And now it's real easy to see which ones are on the low end and which ones are on the high end. There's also, if you go to conditional formatting here and go to highlight cells rules and go to more rules, you have, this is the one that you're going to want to use, probably 90% of the time or more. And then down here you can change the relationship, and then click on format, and you can go in and customize whatever you want. And if you want to do some stuff that's a little bit fancier, you do have some other options up here as well that we're not going to take a look at in this video. Okay, so we'll cancel out of there, but you've got lots of options. And those are the basics of conditional formatting in Excel 2016.